I want you to think about the last time someone hesitated at your price. What if that hesitation wasn't about money, but about certainty? Because pricing doesn't just communicate cost, it communicates confidence. In a few minutes, I'll explain why lowering your price often makes people trust you less. If you're part of an established B2B organization, investing in growth, but still seeing price pressure, stalled deals, or revenue conversations slowing down, then this episode is for you. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how pricing impacts perception, deal velocity, and revenue, and how to price your offers with confidence to attract better fit clients and grow without discounting. Hi guys, welcome back for episode 48. So, last week we had Tao on our podcast and he was talking about turning his passion into a business, treating creativity professionally and charging for value, not just effort. And one thing that shows up in every successful career or business is knowing your value and pricing accordingly.
And this is why pricing matters more than what people think. Let's just discuss why pricing is a marketing strategy. One of the key insights I'd like to make is pricing communicates value before you say a word. And a lot of that actually can be, even before you get to the pricing part, but how your website and everything is laid out, the colour scheme and everything can actually have an impact on your pricing and how people perceive you as a business.
Yeah.
So price as positioning. Now, there are businesses out there that position themselves based on price. So if you take some businesses here in Australia, certainly in certain parts of Australia, you've got a store called Silly Solly's where nothing is over $5. So that's clearly a pricing strategy to draw people in. You can get whatever you need and everything is under $5.
Yeah.
Or the $5 and under anyway. Then you've got the adage car scenario, right, where you've got like a Ferrari or a Bentley or a Maserati on one side, and then on the other side you have a Lada Riva. I'm not sure if anybody can remember that from back in the day over in Europe, certainly in the UK and Scotland anyway. And you know, your Ford Fiestas and your cars that, you know, your family cars that normal families kind of use in that as well, which are certainly priced at the cheaper end rather than at the luxury end of the spectrum. Those both businesses and cars are priced specifically and are positioned specifically to attract a specific type of person. So you won't get like someone that would be looking at buying a Ford Fiesta, looking at a Ferrari or a Bentley.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And that's where pricing and positioning comes in.
Yeah.
Now, why premium brands really explain price, because, well, you've maybe heard that quote, you know, that if you need to ask for the price, then you can't afford that. Eh? So generally premium brands don't lead with price because they're all about quality and the perception or the perceived value that their product actually provides you. And people do this every day, by the way, when they go and buy their whatever brand that they prefer. So if you prefer Nike over Adidas, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But again, that's why premium brands really explain their price.
Yeah.
And cheap prices attract high friction customers. In other words, the cheaper you are, the more nightmare customers you've got.
Yeah.
That's an actual fact, by the way. And it's also a fact that, you know, if you charge a certain price for your product or service and you discount it, that is also a big problem. Discounting products and things, not so much about a problem depending on how commoditized they are, I suppose, but going for lower prices just generally attracts the wrong type of people.
Yeah.
So people don't buy the cheapest option in most cases. They buy the one that feels right for them.
Yeah, 100%. So what's the hidden cost of underpricing? So what underpricing actually causes is burnout, resentment, poor quality clients, and constant objections. And when you're underpricing your services, you know, you do get burnt out because you're constantly having to find work or do the work just to make a living and just to survive and just pay the bills. You end up having resentment for other companies or towards your clients because, you know, you're thinking, if you're charging 10 grand and you say to a client, "Oh, do it for $5,000," you're going to get resentment towards them because they'll say things, because they're usually the hardest clients to work with because they want the cheapest things, like we just mentioned before. And you're going to get resentment because they will chase the cheapest things, and you'll think, "Oh, I should be doing this for $10,000. Why am I doing it for 5?" And then you'll start to build up a bit of a hatred towards your clients, which will reduce your customer experience, which is something you most definitely do not want.
You've got the other side of the coin to that as well, Chloe, where, if someone does that and reducing their cost by half, the person on the other side, the customer, is going to think to himself, well, wait now, you were trying to get me to pay 10,000, but now you're doing it for 5,000. You were trying to rip me off.
Yeah.
Because that's the mindset and the mentality of them. So the best thing to do if someone's trying to get you cheaper is just to stick by your pricing. That's my pricing. If you what you can maybe do is add a bit more value to bring them up to where your pricing sits. Not too much, obviously, but never ever discount. Never ever discount.
Yeah. And there's some key truths to this so pricing shapes perception, underpricing creates that friction, and price is one of your strongest marketing signals. So now let's talk about how pricing actually works psychologically.
So some key concepts around the pricing psychology strategy. And the first one is pricing anchoring. And generally what that does is that's when you're anchoring a price to a specific bundle or a specific package or a specific product. And what you're basically saying is you can get this. So you've probably been a pricing page of a SaaS tool, for instance, and you've maybe seen, bronze, gold, or silver, or bronze, silver, or gold, and this kind of thing. That's price anchoring. So you're anchoring the price based on what the deliverable is. Then you've got the perceived value. So generally, what happens is if you've got a product, it costs you $2,000 to deliver a product, but you're selling it and you decided to sell it for $10,000. People will perceive the value of that product to be high because of the cost involved.
Yeah.
So if you've got 3 products, and the first product is $2,000, the second product is $7,000, and the third product is $10,000, the perceived value, people are going to perceive the value of the top 2 as being the best value.
Yeah. But
because obviously the more expensive it is, the more perceived value it's going to have, is what I'm trying to get at. But when you've got three prices at levels, if you like, so say 2.7, we'll push that 10 up to 15. What you'll generally find is most people will go for the one in the middle because that's the best perceived value because it's kind of in between.
Yeah.
But you'll always get the people that will always go for the top, and you'll get the people that will always go for the bottom. And this is why they always say that always lead with 3 prices for your SaaS tool. If you're pricing your service or your products too low, the perceived value that the user is thinking that they're essentially not going to trust you, right? So if you've got, say, 3 vendors, one vendor gives you a cost for a new website of $2,000, one gives you one for $7,500, another one gives you one for $10,000. The chances are the one at $2,000 is not. They're just not going to trust you, especially if they understand what goes into actually building a website.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you might think, well, how can someone charge $2,000 where someone's charging $10,000? And again, that goes back to that whole perceived value again. It's probably you'd probably want to try and make sure that from a customer's point of view, that you understand what you're actually. What's actually being delivered there. And this is why it's important to understand all the variables around price, not just the actual price itself.
Yeah.
A couple of examples of this is why premium brands really discount. Well, they really discount because they wouldn't be premium if they discounted at all.
And you see this with Apple. Apple never do discounts. You buy it at that or you don't buy it at all. And that's because they are a category leader as well. They've got they're at the top. You know, you do have your Samsung, and I think they have or they have Android, and Android have just come out with a new phone called Nothing, and it's like a clear phone, so it looks like there's nothing there, but you can use it. So it's interesting. But yeah, like we said, Apple never do discounts. So if you go there, you're paying the full price unless you have like a student discount or something, which is another aspect.
Yeah. We've also got the example as well where free often feels suspicious. That's because there's no free lunch in life. You know, you pay for everything in life.
If it's
That's
free,
bottom line.
then you're the product.
Because at the end of the day, pricing is confidence made visible. So ask yourself, what does your pricing say about you?
It's a good question for the listeners to take on board and implement into their own business.
Yep.
Some common pricing strategies that actually work are value-based pricing, tiered pricing. So like we mentioned, that starter, growth, accelerator, or bronze, silver, gold. You have outcome-based pricing, bundling for perceived value. And those are 4 key strategies that are actually going to work for your business. And, you know, people don't pay for your time, they pay for the outcomes. So even if it takes you 5 minutes to do something, but it's taken you 30 years to be able to do that in 5 minutes, they're paying for the outcome, not for the 5 minutes that it's taken you to do it.
Well, that's 100% right. Now go back to the whole value-based pricing. I mean, value-based pricing is based on the value that you're actually providing the customer. So, you know, it's what you're bundling in within that proposal or quote or whatever it is. That's your value-based pricing. Tiered pricing, as you explained, is more about, you know, what you're actually getting. So if you've got one say a SaaS tool is a prime example of this, where you can get A, B, or C, you know, bronze, silver, gold, and you get different tiers of pricing. So maybe more seats for, you know, gold as opposed to silver and things like that. Outcome-based pricing is based on the outcomes that you're going to deliver. So if you're delivering $1 million at the end of the year, then you'll maybe get X amount.
10% or something.
10%. If you're delivering 10 million, then you'll maybe get 12%, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And building for perceived value, bundling for perceived value. So that's where, and this is where the discounting thing is, or preventing the discounting thing is quite good, where you can bundle more value if someone's asking for a discount. Just, you know, you can tell them that unfortunately you know, we don't do discounts, but what I'll do for you is I'll add X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So that gives them that perceived value within that pricing strategy.
Yeah. Some pricing mistakes that most businesses make. So some of the mistakes are, you know, pricing based on your competitors. If your competitors are, say, $100 and they've decided to do a $90 deal, then you're also making yours maybe $80 to try and get that competition, but it doesn't, because it just reduces your margins. Discounting too early, especially when you're starting your business. If you've just started your business and then you're going, oh, we're having a 50% sale off now, people are going to think, oh, okay, so they just do discounts and I'll just buy it when I can get it discounted, if that's what they're going to do.
That's right.
Justifying price defensively. You don't need to justify your price defensively whatsoever. You know, that's the price, that's what it is. You either pay it or you don't. And confusing affordability with value. This is a huge one, and one that a lot of people make. Just because somebody can't afford your services doesn't mean what you're providing isn't valuable and isn't the right amount of money that you should be charging. It just means that they're the incorrect ICP and they're not somebody that should be paying for your services. They need to go see somebody else that charges a little bit less, and they won't get as much value as they get out of you. If you need to explain your price, then your value isn't clear.
Yeah, 100%. Now, what you want to do is you want to price with confidence, and that really helps you drive more quality leads, and kind of, I suppose, allows people to allows them to see, to kind of self-diagnose that they are not your ideal client.
Yeah.
And we do this on our website with our stuff because we know that not everyone is our customer. And we don't want the people that are thinking just solely about how much money, or, you know,
yeah.
10 grand a month, you know, that's a lot of money. Well, it may be a lot of money, but what you actually get in return of that. But anyway, there are some pricing frameworks that you can use, and one of those is position for value. So position your product or service for value, results over features. So you don't want to be essentially selling your product because of the features. You want to be selling it for the outcomes and the results that the people are going to receive by using it. The features are just or niceties, if you like. It allows you to bring in your ideal customer, so it gives you that kind of ideal customer clarity. It also allows you to weed out the people that are not going to be your customers, and that's actually one of the massive things about your messaging and positioning on your website. Eliminates those people so that they don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Especially if they've not got the money or the long term know-how or view to proceed with whatever it is you are selling. It allows you to have confidence in the delivery, and it allows you to set expectations as well. One of the things you want to do when you're talking about pricing is speak less and lead more, and price confidently and pause. And you'll be surprised how many people don't pause, and what that does is actually kills the conversion. So once you've said your price, pause and let your prospects speak. This is one of the 101 things that you learn in sales as well, you know. So, but pricing is a confidence thing. You need to be confident with your pricing. If you're confident with whatever you're selling, that shouldn't be a problem anyway.
Yeah. And one thing you will find, like in business, is some people, depending on your ICP, want things for cheap. They're going to ask you if you can get a discount, if you can do that, if you can do this. But, you know, each to their own, but you need to be very firm and ensure that they're not going to make life harder for you. When you have a client that's going to spend that, you know, a bit more money, or they pay your invoice on time, or, you know, you don't have those troubles. Those are the clients that you ideally want, because you will have that less friction. So some actionable takeaways for you guys to implement this week are: review your current pricing, identify one offer that you've underpriced and maybe change it and increase it. Remove unnecessary discounts, don't need it. Communicate outcomes, not effort. And test pricing with confidence, not fear. So we've talked about pricing strategy, perception, and confidence, but none of it matters unless it changes behavior. So I want you to leave with one question to think about after this episode. What would actually change in your business if you charged what you're worth? Pricing isn't about what people can afford. It's about what you're confident enough to charge. Now, if you liked this episode, if you felt some value from it and the rest of our episodes, go have a look at the other ones, subscribe to our channel, share this episode with a business owner who you might think undercharges, and apply one pricing change this week. Next week on the Adonis Effect, we're breaking down how to shorten B2B sales cycles without discounting or harder chasing. We'll unpack deal stalls, what shows buying decisions, and how to move opportunities forward with clarity and confidence. So if your pipeline is full but progress feels slow, you don't want to miss out on this episode. Cool. We'll see you next week then, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.